Welcome, NFL fans, to Week 2 of the 2015 season. But before we move ahead to Week 2's games, let's take a quick step back to Week 1. Last week I went 4-1 against the spread. Not too bad for an opening week. The only team that let me down was the Detroit Lions, who blew an 18-point lead against San Diego. Boy, the Lions sure took a cat nap in the second half. Oh well. So anyway, let's move ahead to Week 2. I have a six-pack for you this week, and I'm not talking about your favorite brand of beer. I have 6 games. So let's get started. For my first pick, I have the Texans plus 3.5 over the Panthers. With the benching of Brian Hoyer for the Texans, this is music for the receivers and running game of the Texans. With the rocket arm of Mallet, things will open up for them offensively. And DeAndre Hopkins, I think, is in for a big game. And the pass rush of the Texans will make things miserable for Cam Newton, as he'll be scrambling more than looking downfield. And they aren't playing the Jacksonville defense either. And for my next pick, I like the St. Louis Rams minus 3 over the Washington Redskins. I think the St. Louis defense will play where they left off from last week against the Seahawks. Kirk Cousins is in for another long day in the office with the pass rush of the Rams, and Nick Foles will have all day to throw against a beat-up Redskins secondary, and their free safety Culliver is out this week due to a suspension. For my next pick, I like the New York Giants minus 2 over the Falcons. The Giants last week showed me a lot with their questionable line play, which played really well against the Cowboys, who are physical, which they should haven't a problem with the Falcons' offensive and defensive line. And with the height of Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie and Mukamara in the back end, I think they'll slow down Roddy White and Julio Jones as much as they can. And the receivers of New York will make in for a long day for Atlanta, and Shane Vereen will be a big key for them to get the win against the Falcons. And Atlanta, I think, is due for a letdown, as they had a big emotional Monday night win last week against the Eagles. For my next pick, I like the Green Bay Packers over the Seahawks. Aaron Rodgers and the rest of the boys have been circling this date since the schedule came out in April. I think they'll get their revenge on the Seahawks after blowing a big lead with 5 minutes left in the championship game. Seattle's secondary will have more trouble with Rodgers than they did with Foles last week. Seattle will get better, but it won't be this week. For my next pick, I like the Bills +1 over the Patriots. Tom Brady and his receivers will be in trouble against the improved secondary of the Bills, and the receivers will have fits getting off the line of scrimmage, and they'll get thrown off with their routes by being jammed at the line, and the pass rush will be all over Tom Brady, and the Bills' speed in the backfield and wide receivers will be too much for the secondary of the Patriots. Now what you've all been waiting for. Sound the alarms. That's right. It's the upset special of the week. The upset of the week is the Chargers over the Bengals. The Chargers showed me a lot last week in battling the Lions. They didn't get off to a good start, but they battled back, and I liked what their team showed. And that will serve them well when they take on the Bengals in the jungle. The Chargers backs like Woodhead, Oliver, and Gordon will do well against the Bengals, and that will slow down the fierce pass rush of the Bengals. And if there's one area where the Bengals defense is a little leaky, it's in the secondary. So I think Rivers will have some time to get some play action passes down the field, and the Bengals have to show me a little more than beating up on a bad Raiders team who was without Derek Carr for most of the game and half their secondary. So I think it won't be easy, but the Chargers will have enough to upset the Bengals on this Sunday afternoon to move the record to 2-0. So those are my picks for the week, and here's a recap. So good luck and enjoy week 2 of this young NFL season. We'll see you next week for week 3.